Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distant but technically connected. I'm Marcy Tyler, the Director of Building Science for Tremco, and I am once again joined by my co-host.
Marcy, it's so good to be back with you.
It's good to see you, Paul. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm Paul Hugenbaum, by the way. I'm the president of Tremco. You know that, but I'm president of the Tremco Construction Products Group, Marcy, a tremendous collection of brands and companies and systems and most of all people all over the world.
People. We always end with people just because we know how important it is, those feet on the street. Now, Paul, while you've been out and about, we were featuring a lot of those feet on the street on different broadcasts, and you had a good time featuring everybody. Today is no exception to that. We've got some more feet on the street that we're featuring, so pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about both our guests today. One whom I think I'm actually truly meeting for the first time, but of course virtually.
Yes, exactly, virtually, of course. So our theme this month is labor savings. Thought it was a good idea for a variety of reasons. One, we just finished celebrating Labor Day.
Yeah.
So I did a little history on that on Labor Day. Parades, you used to have parades, the first one, I think the first parade was in the 1800s in New York City, celebrating the labor force and labor unions. So it's interesting to kind of see that history. Did you do anything exciting for Labor Day?
I think the most exciting thing I did was not much.
Yeah, right? Labor-less, so right? Labor-free Labor Day.
I think we enjoyed a gorgeous day.
Yes, it's been nice. Paul and I like to comment on the weather occasionally. I think when we kicked off Tremco Live, it was rain and snow and rain and snow. And so we've been spoiled here in Northeast Ohio with some very good weather, and today very mild weather, which is nice.
Yeah, we were commenting a few minutes ago. It's I think both of us are favorite times of year is the fall, and especially September.
Yeah, definitely is. So with that, we want to kick off today, as I mentioned, talking about labor and labor savings specifically. So Paul, I pulled a couple things from the internet just to kind of help us kind of talk through why is labor specifically, something that people are talking about and something that people are considering. Now, this is from a while ago, in February of 2019, dealing with the workforce shortage, right? So there's a variety of reasons for that, but we also know that a lot of our workforce is retiring, right?
Yeah, it's I think often within Tremco, we compare notes about how people come to the trade, if you will, or come to the profession, and the data really says there's a lot of people retiring, and there's just far less being drawn to the industry. So it really means for us, Marcy, we have to seek people out and show them what an exciting place building construction materials is.
Exactly. So focusing on training, focusing on education is a key part of it. Now, obviously, the pandemic has brought about even more, demand on our labor force, and maybe pulled them away maybe in other areas. Yeah,
I think pre-pandemic, we had certainly had more and more labor concerns as an industry and certainly as a company, but now I think everybody is seeing the labor impact. You can't walk into a retail store or talk to a small business owner and they're just having tremendous difficulty. Again, I think the same reasons where people are retiring. There is just less people.
So it's interesting because a lot of firms are trying to deal with that, right? Through training and through other means and methods, maybe to supplement their workforce. This is just another article I found more recently, and it talks about, the construction industry is booming, right? Yeah. But our woes in terms of labor and rising cost delays are still affecting us, but they are looking at other ways that they can utilize that labor force. And that's what we're going to talk about this whole month, is different innovative approaches to installation practices that can help contribute to that.
Yeah, and I think there's always two parts, Marcy. One is certainly more efficiency, but the other thing is, historically, construction's a tough job, right? You talk to somebody that's been, on a roof, if you will, or on a wall for 20, 30 years. It's a tough job. So anything we can do to make that job easier, it's just going to be a home run, not just for us in the industry, but for the individuals doing the work.
Absolutely. And just a couple more, just once again, other areas talking about the demand, other articles that you can see. So it's all over the news. I also reached out to another a way to look at what's going on out there, and the Associated General Contractor Association had a lot of great information as well. So if you go to their website, lots of great information related to education and training, what's new, new in the industry, lots of other areas. And what we're going to focus on right now is the aspect of construction data. So they went through and did a survey. Now this was in 2020. So I pulled out some interesting facts here about being able to, the difficulty of filling salary or hourly craft positions, right? So 81% said they are having difficulty there. The next bit of information is, once again, do they continue to see that being an issue? They all, 43% agree that it's going to continue to be hard or be getting harder. And then the last one, which is pretty interesting as well, is if you look at that biggest concern, right? So 75%, once again, is going to worker quality, right? And that can go back to education, and then worker shortages. And then you can see the other things there. But if you want to see that entire study, you can go ahead and look at that Associated General Contractors website with a lot of great other bit of information on there. So just to kind of confirm what we're seeing, it's definitely a reason why we thought this would be a great topic for the month of September. And we're going to continue on, as Paul said, talking about ways that we can be efficient or also maybe help that worker. So maybe it's a little easier for them to install. It's interesting, Paul, and I'm thinking back to some of our past episodes. One of the things we asked you all was, what do you feel is the most difficult connection on your construction project? So I'm going to test you, Paul. Do you remember what the number one answer was of these 4 areas?
Well, I know I'm biased on this too, so I'm not sure which one was number 1, but I just always go to the lower right, roof to wall.
Roof to wall, yeah. And I think our guests, they said roof to wall, but then I think our guest that day really talked a lot about window to wall as one. So I thought we would just kind of highlight both of those today as areas of concern, areas where we want to help not only make that more efficient, make it maybe easier to do, because we know that it can be difficult. And when I think about that window to wall situation and that roof to wall area, I think of 2 of our feet on the street that can help us. Something new to Tremco, but not new to the industry.
Yeah. So
should we invite them onto the program?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, join Paul and I, and turn your cameras on and let's see you. So thanks for joining us today. Brad, tell me a little bit about your experience in the industry.
My background is manufacturing engineered lumbers and treated material, about 35, 40 years of it, and working for different manufacturers. Most of my background's in engineered lumber, and that's where I came up with the Buck system. And I've always liked working with the engineered products opposed to just treated lumber. I see a lot of that on, being drawn into these projects, and it's a shame. But that's my background.
So that window to wall, roof to wall, you have some solutions for that connection area, right? You've got some help that you can provide.
Yeah, I came up with the window and door Buck system back in 2009, and then Bill ran with it and got me spec'd into a lot of different projects, and started it.
Providing solutions out there for those connections. So Bill, welcome to Tremco Live. Tell me a little bit about your history.
Yeah, it's a bit different than Brett's. So 35 years now in the trades and construction of some sort. And you guys spoke about labor and the, the challenges, starting out when I was 16 with my boots in the mud, so to speak, pouring concrete. That's where it all began. And to your point, you can only do that so many years. You have to look for ways to simplify, to expedite. And so about 21 years ago, I was introduced to another labor saving solution called insulated concrete forms, and migrated into that business. And it wasn't until, according to Brett, about 2010 when I was again looking for a labor savings, something that could help my crews and the crews that we supported with product be more efficient. And I ran across this product that could simplify the way we buck out or prepare that window door interface, termination point. Man, that was an incredible advantage for contractors out there that were looking for labor reduction and speed of build, which even back in 2010 and 11 was a paramount piece of it. Not so much because you couldn't find people then, but you couldn't find the skill. So you needed to reduce this down to a less skill. So in my 35 years promoting concrete as a way to build, now I will back one idea that is wood related, and that's the laminated strand lumber from Prebuck. So a wonderful solution. Anyway, so I'll let you get on with that part of it, Marcy.
That's great. And I think what's interesting, and you just said it, that laminated strand lumber. So I think before we get into some of the specific uses and some of the information I have, tell me why this type of engineered lumber is different than what people might see or might interpret when they're looking at it, right? They might go, oh, that's OSB. I know what that is.
Yeah, it's not, oh, it's laminated strand lumber. It's like tendons. It's actually engineered for strength, and then it's treated with zinc borate. So the whole cross section, it's put in a bath of zinc borate, and then they use an MDI resin to bond it all together. The MDI resin, that cures to a durable plastic, and then it's compressed, real high compression strength. So for the pull outs and then, if you cut it on a job site, the whole cross section is actually treated with the zinc borate. It's designed for direct contact with concrete. Structurally, you've got a better bending strength than OSB. We've had pieces of this exposed on job sites for up to a year, and it will not lose its fastener holding strength. You can't delaminate it. It gives you a good platform for attaching, future building components. You got a stable platform there to start attaching everything to. It's non-corrosive to metals. So aluminum storefront material or aluminum copings, nails, fasteners, can go right directly to this material, will not oxidize. That's a huge advantage. That's massive. Structurally, the material, it cannot warp, twist, cup, or curl. It just can't do it. It's going to lay as flat as that countertop that your elbows are on right there. And that's where everything gets attached to. So if your substrate is not stable like treated lumber, there's nothing you can do. I don't care what you put on there. Once that treated lumber starts to move and twist and cup, and the last thing it's going to be is straight, it's going to end up, after it dries out, it's going to move. And then that's going to tear that's where you get your leaks from and all your instability there. I've been working with material for going on about 11 years now, and it's just beautiful. I mean, the customers, once the customers use it, they will not go back to treated lumber. It's termite and it's fungus and resistive. It can contribute to lead points. There's no off gases. It was, when I was developing this, then the ICF industry is obviously a green, energy efficient, clean industry. The material I had to design this off of had to be, environmentally friendly.
Well, and that's why I wanted to make sure you guys commented on that, because I didn't want anyone to misunderstand what that is. It sounds amazing, doesn't it, Paul, in terms of its wear, its durability, its strength. I mean, you know, if you go to try to get any type of wood, you're going to search through the pile to make sure you get the one that's as straight as possible, and it's not going to remain straight later on, right? That's probably as good as it's going to be, and then it's going to go from there. So yeah, pretty incredible.
No, Brett did a great job at really simplifying what's unique and special and different and better about LSL.
Exactly. So thanks for sharing all that great information with us. So there is great information that you can find on the Prebuck materials, specifically if you're interested in checking that out. So you can go there, but we've also got some great information here. So what Brett started to talk to us a little bit about was just that, the buck framing opportunities, the parapet cap opportunities, and then a couple other products that we can start to talk about. And I want you all to be thinking as you're listening today, you know, what is that, you know, connection you might have on a structure? Because it doesn't need to end here, right? We can find other ways to utilize this type of engineered solution in other connections.
Yeah, and you use the word we love at Tremco, the word connections, right? And what a great system for those critical connections, right? The windows and the doors.
Yeah.
And Brett just did a fantastic job at explaining why the Prebuck system is just going to give you a better interface, and most importantly, a stable interface to that connection.
And I love that word interface, because that truly is what that is doing. It's giving you a good sound substrate, a good interface, but it's also providing that connection solution that's difficult to do. So talk to me about what we're looking at here, guys, the Prebuck frames. I took a few examples from the many case studies that you can find on the Prebuck website.
Yeah, your upper left corner, the concrete into the dovetails there on the window and door buck system. I mean, basically what those dovetails do, that integrates the whole window and door or opening for mechanical openings, louvers, ductwork. We do a lot of openings for those items also, but you've got two-way, keyway that are dovetailed in there. When I designed the product, I wanted to make sure it was not coming off or it was going to twist off that wall. So I put double dovetails in there. And then you can see that the concrete actually integrates that buck system right into that wall. You know, that'll minimize any air infiltration. The connections to the concrete's key. I mean, you can have a nice product there, but again, back to treated lumber, once it starts drying out and twisting, the way they were attaching to the concrete was basically with some nails and screws, and Bill can get more involved in that and let us know more how they connect there. But the problem is, you know, after 6 months or a year after it dries out, that connection, the treated lumber pulls apart from that concrete. Now you get air infiltration and water infiltration. Well, the double key system, I mean, is basically going to prevent that from happening. The other items are just basically ICF, different structures. You know, I custom build. Take all the labor out of the job site as much as possible. I mean, the big house there, the White House there, I mean, that was probably about 40 windows and doors. Delivered it to the job site. That one's in Pennsylvania. Everything's cut out. Same principle as knockdown furniture. We label it, and then it gets to the job site, and all the installer has to do is send his part-time labor person over there to put 3 screws or 3 nails in each corner, and then they're done. You know, so we're eliminating all that labor on that job site. And then custom built, I do a lot of different custom items, as you can see on there. And the one was a church up in the upper right hand corner. That was a church. And down in the left hand, that was a local job for Dan Boss Construction, and just custom built that little opening there. We do a lot of hotels. You know, we're saving, you know, if you look at the hotel there, that was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you know, the amount of labor we're saving on these job sites is just astronomical. You know, you know, we send everything in basically pre-assembled, and then they sky lift it up to the floor, and you know, just eliminating all that time from that way the owner can get that project up and running quicker and starting getting revenue generated a lot quicker. So that's what we do.
And I like the comment there of, getting it all to the job site, right? We see prefabrication, anything we can do before it gets to the job site as a key way to save. But now the other thing we always like to talk about is how we're being innovative with our approach, speeding it up, but not compromising on performance. And I love that picture up at the top left there where it's showing the cutaway. Whenever and the fact that when it's cut, it's still going to be that same material because it's treated throughout, which there's a lot of materials that aren't that way, right? So as soon as you start to cut it, maybe you have to do something different on that cut edge and you don't have that.
Yeah, and I like how Brett, there's so many little, what I call features and functions that Brett has really built into the system over the years. And you just mentioned, of course, the dovetails there, pretty cool.
And we just got a couple other things here. Some of those words that I think we hear you guys mention a lot when we look at this, the Prebuck, especially for these window areas here about that speed, simplification, and extending. So talk to me a little bit about what we got going on here.
I'll jump in real quick here, Brett, because this is something that, as I said, going back to my days in the construction and then, of course, supporting contractors as we train them, there's a lot of, you're seeing a lot of focus here with our insulated concrete form portion, but really any structural concrete masonry, even steel frame structure needs this interface component that's stable. And by integrating the proper width, okay, so this is exact width of your wall system. The one on the left actually has an additional amount of insulation. We're seeing greater and greater amounts of insulation added to buildings. So we could look at this as new construction or retrofit as we go back in on existing structures and we build those out with additional material. We're going to need an assembly around that framed opening, and Prebuck has the solution to be able to do that with in a treated, stable mechanism. It can be not only modified to width, but it can be customized and pre-assembled. So all you have to do is fit it into that forming mechanism or framing solution that you're utilizing. Again, skilled labor is the real shortage, and if we can take and prepare a lot of those skilled portions inside of a controlled environment, we can extend your season. We can, simplify at the job site and really shorten construction schedules. And that's what you're seeing here is kind of that pre-braced, pre-assembled solution for a kit to a job site, and the contractor can then expedite the rest of their forming and concrete installation or other assemblies. So that's my little bit on that slide right there.
Well, and Bill, I'm glad you mentioned that, right? So obviously we're featuring some of that Nudura construction and the insulated concrete form construction, but I know we had a guest on a few weeks back, Paul, where it was a high school in Pennsylvania, and it was Securac X4 430 was the sheathing, so it wasn't insulated concrete forms, and that installer bucked out each of the windows himself. So there's going to be people that do that, have that capability, and this is another option for for those types of applications. So it's not limited to by any means to insulated concrete forms. We can go into other types of construction. And I love your comment about restoration too. So what happens when we go in and we take those windows out? What are we seeing in place of what we need to now put a new window into? Probably some need for some repairs, and this is just another great option to clean it up, put something in there that's going to be nice, secure, weather resistant, a great solution for restoration.
Yeah, and Bill and Brett keep saying the word custom, meaning they'll just tailor whatever the design calls for. They'll make the bucks to it.
Yeah,
off you go.
Yeah. So that window to wall connection was known as a difficult way to make a connection depending on what that type of window is. We've got a lot of great materials like our pre-compressed foam tapes. We've got our pre-cured extrusions like Simple Seal and ProGlaze ETA. Those work great. this is just one more way, one more option in terms of making that connection on your construction site. Now, the other one we mentioned was the roof to wall, right? And a lot of that roof to wall construction is going to rely on how well the parapet cap is constructed. So here's our next area of connectivity concern. Talk to me about what's going on here.
Yeah, if you look at the upper left-hand corner, that's a parapet cap that is 13 1/4 inch wide. Pitched, we sent it out to the job site, 16-foot lengths. It's got a 3/8 inch pitch to it. And then basically 1 or 2 employees. And again, we don't need the, you don't need a master carpenter anymore. The old conventional way they were constructing this is basically putting bunks of material on the roof, and then, somebody with a saw would start cutting 8-foot plywood, and you would have to put multiple pieces of treated lumber, unstable treated lumber, to duplicate that red piece on the upper left. You would have to have a piece of plywood cut to 13 1/4, a 2x4 out at the outer edge, and then another piece of plywood at an angle. It was the normal construction method on job sites. What you're doing is you're putting 3 pieces of unstable material on that cap. Well, that cap's where about probably 98% of leaks start on that roof, right at that connection right there. So I saw a need for it. I was looking at some designs that Bill had, some schools down in Toledo actually, where Bill and I were doing the bucks, and I saw the parapet cap, and I decided to start making a parapet cap. So I pitched one with an old planer, and this is what we come up with. And I decided, well, let's put some anchor openings in there. And again, then it come down to an installer is installing that, and again, not your, it's your part-time or your just your basic employee. I should word that different. Putting up 16 feet in 3 minutes. Where the old conventional, we can basically put up 1,200 to 1,500 lineal feet of a stable product in a day, 2 employees again. The old conventional way, the data I've been accumulating is they estimate about 150 lineal feet, 2 to 3 employees in 1 day. It was the old conventional way. Now, besides us being able to put up 10 times as much, is the product stability. I mean, you've put on there a stable product that structurally cannot cup, cannot warp, cannot twist, and it will not curl. Every 100% of the roofers and the people, the customers that are the installers of parapet cap, 100% of them have told me that within a few days, treated lumber will start to curl at that outer edge. Now you're trying to put a roofing membrane over top of that. We eliminate all that. We're giving you that stable platform to attach to.
And the complexity of trying to get that pitch. And I chose some pictures here because even if you had a square building, you still have to deal with trying to get it to pitch and then make that connection on all the corners. And they're generally not going to just be 4 corners, right? You're going to have all these different connections that you're dealing with to connect up
That's
as
the
well.
equivalent of fine carpentry going
Yes.
on your parapet wall. That's, and again, boy, Brett just keeps emphasizing the word stability.
Yeah. And here's, just some more visuals, right? As we're looking at that parapet cap, right? So, as Brett mentioned, this is your area where you're going to be attaching a lot, your roofing membrane, as well as just your finished metal cap to it, or whatever it might be. You want something stable and repeatable as you're working up there. And so there's a couple pictures up there on the upper right showing how difficult it can be to try to get that pitch, get it constructed appropriately, and you're dealing with materials that are going to bow, twist, turn, curl.
Yeah, and this, I know we've had some other episodes, Marcy, where we really show the amount of air leakage that typically can occur
Yeah.
at that roof to wall. And I think those pictures start to demystify exactly how's that air getting through there.
Yeah.
And of course, Prebuck eliminates all that.
Yeah, when you get up to that area, you know, how's it all going to come together? How are you going to get that appropriate slope? Who's going to do it? You know, who's responsible for making sure that's going to work? And most importantly, are those materials going to be weather resistant? And we've heard a lot from restoration consultants when we've talked to them is they want to know, will sealants and flashings adhere? Because they've had difficulty with it adhering to other types of engineered woods. We will show you some data that shows that, but I just wanted to kind of go back to that, those same bullets and how the Prebuck Parapet cap solution can solve all of those previous bullets.
Excuse me, you had mentioned other engineered woods. They really don't do engineered woods. They're more your treated lumber and stuff like that. Is what, and treated plywood is what's normally used up there. So, you know, we're really the only engineered wood that's, I mean, Prebuck's it. There's nothing else on the market. So, sorry.
No, please. I want you to say something. Brett, thank you for saying that. So, and I love this picture here, you know, so on the left-hand side is, and a lot of times they'll just, you know, it'll be drawn like it's one piece, right? Just make it work. Or it can be drawn, you know, utilizing the pre-engineered parapet cap system by Prebuck, you know, with the tapered system.
Marcy, can you blow that? Am I supposed to interrupt or not?
Yes.
Guests are always allowed to interrupt, Brett. We encourage it.
Yeah.
No, that picture says it all right there. You don't need anything more than that photo right there. I mean, that if you blow that up and you actually analyze that, the amount of material that was used on that left hand is just astronomical. I mean, it's unbelievable. And if you really look at that and study it, on the outside facade, they actually have 3 pieces of lumber that they bolted to the face of that cinder block. The reason they didn't, and if you look at Prebuck's drawing back there, it's not there. There's a reason. The reason they put it out there was there was nothing to attach that 2x10 to on the old convention. So they had to bolt lumber to the outside. I mean, just start thinking about the labor and the amount of labor, not the material, but the labor to do that is astronomical. And on the Prebuck drawing there, that's all eliminated because we're one solid piece that can cantilever out past that wall. So, sorry.
No, that's exactly, I love that type of explanation. We should do a parapet cap building rodeo, you know, and I know which team I'm going to want to be on every single time. I'm going to want to be on that Prebuck team because we're going to be able to get it done and get it done right. So just another great example of really how complex it can be, you know, utilizing other means and methods, or how simple and yet performance you're going to get is so much more exceptional.
And again, it highlights why it's such a troublesome interface and why you get so much air leakage.
Yeah, and just once again, just showing some of the you know, Brett did mention it, the color coding, you know, very easy to assemble when you get to that job site, and then a nice clean finished look that you're going to achieve because you're going to have this pre-engineered, you know, this engineered solution that's going to stay stable. It's not going to curl, twist. It's gonna look good throughout the life of the building.
And
Marcy, real quick here, I just wanted to highlight another savings in your labor, in your critical path here, with the number of lifts that you have to do to stage that roof. When you do this in the more conventional rip out plywood or use a bunch of 2x4 and 1x, it takes a lot of material that gets loaded onto the roof, a lot of debris that gets unloaded from the roof prior to, versus the Prebuck parapet cap simply comes out. You can drop it where you need it on the roof, move it simply into position, all color coded to the plans, and that's huge in terms of just staging savings.
Awesome.
If you look at that bottom right hand corner, the metal that's been the coping, the installers that are putting the metal over top of the cap. I mean, you see how straight the product is. I mean, they just love installing over, because the coping people that are putting the metal on, that metal forms to the substrate that it's being nailed to or screwed to. So if there's any waves or if it's not straight, you know, the metal is going to what they call oil can, and we eliminate that. And that's something that I've learned since I started this. I mean, the installers are just, I mean, they would get blamed for having oil waves and oil can in that metal up there. Well, having a straight substrate structure to attach to eliminates that, and you can see it in that photo right there. I mean, you know, so
that's good. Well, and I think the one question that came up when we talked to some consultants and those specifically in the restoration world, they wanted to know about adhesion. So they wanted to know, how well do these products adhere? So as we're looking at that critical connection, you know, if we're going to go up and over it, whether it's a fluid or different types of materials, so we went ahead and did some testing, and this will be coming out in its entirety. But we just took a variety of the different Tremco accessories, sealants, membranes, and we did some adhesion testing. So this is a standard adhesion test. What we're looking at here is something greater than 80 pounds. So when you can see the numbers that we're looking at here, we're getting exceptional results on this material. And then the next stage is that we want to be able to provide you with the weathered sample. So what Brett brought to me on the far right there, Paul, is a weathered sample. How long was that out and exposed for, Brett?
6 years.
6 years. And we got, I don't know the exact numbers, but we are greater than 80 in every single instance, even on that 6-year exposed material.
Yeah, what's interesting, Marcy, is this is really just across every different type of system and material, and just again speaks to one of the problems that Prebuck solves. It's just giving you the high values on all systems.
Yeah, and just so you guys know what those motive failures are, you know, EF is epoxy failure. That means that the epoxy failed first. So that 174, it means it's even greater than 174, the bond, but the epoxy failed. That just holds the puck in place. If we look at partial substrate failure, so that means that we had a good, super good bond where it was pulling apart a little bit of the membrane, which is normal to see. That 120 for X or 110 AT, that means we had adhesive failure. So that means that once again, that the membrane came cleanly away, so nothing was bad there in that situation. So the mode of failure, they're all approved, they're all good modes of failure, but it does help us understand that what we're looking at is if it says EF, that means it's even greater than what we're seeing there in terms of pull force. So great results there. And I just want to make sure that we close today by saying there's lots of different termination solutions that we can provide with Prebuck. So once again, you heard that word customizable. Lots of opportunities to work with these guys. All of these things are intended to speed, simplify, and extend, and also, you know, provide that great solution long term. So if you have a connectivity challenge that you are facing, that's what we want to hear from you about. So please reach out. Let me know what that connectivity solution you are looking at solving so that we can get these guys involved and have the opportunity to work with you on solving it. So guys, any final words as we close for today?
I will just say that there's a lot of additional information on the website. You find details, drawings. You need support, reach out to the Tremco team or to the directly to Prebuck. And we really look forward to helping you solve some of these termination issues and you know, expedite your projects.
How about you, Brett?
Yeah, you know, thanks for having us on the meeting here. And, you know, Prebuck's proven product out in the market. It's been battle tested for 12 years. The material works. It's giving you that stable platform to attach your future building components to. And appreciate everybody listening. Thanks.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. And so if you're looking at finding more information, as Bill said, you can go ahead and look up Prebuck, but you can also just contact your local Tremco rep. So if you're already working with the Tremco rep, they'll be able to hook you up directly with one of these guys if there's a solution that we need to customize for you. So nothing different there, just one more tool in that Tremco toolbox that we can offer on your project. So exciting stuff.
Yep.
So thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Paul, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome home. And we look forward to continuing in the month of September with more labor savings. So we'll catch up with you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
See you next week.